All right, welcome guys. We have an absolutely just crazy 11 game slate to go over, so buckle up. This is going to be a wild one. We still got some good news. We still got a lot of news to go over. There are a ton of different plays. There are a ton of value plays. There are, spend ups that I think look pretty optimal. There are spend ups I think you can go to get different. It's, I usually don't like this big of slates, so it is, again, kind of hectic, but I'll do my best to break it all down. We got about 35 minutes, so let's do it. Let's first go over the news so far. I guess real quick, though, before I happen anything, if you guys could hit that like button, it really does help me out a lot. All right, so let's start with from the top. Terry Rozier is in. So that downgrade the Martin twins. I forget. I think it was Caleb Martin, right, that started. Caleb Martin's the one that had the big game last game. Downgrade him, obviously, with Rozier in. We have Lowry resting again. We have Gary Trent out. We have Bembry out. So Raptors, once again, pretty short-handed. KD out. Aldridge out. Blake Griffin out. Kyrie in. Could have used him back yesterday, though, right? I only get 3 games for this week from Kyrie. Probably not going to do it for me in best ball. Also, again, Kawhi Leonard out for me. Paul George out too, though. So the Clippers are shorthanded. I think they're a team that looks pretty interesting. Again, Cat out for me as well. Just like, none of my stars playing. Giannis was out in the early game. Dragic out, and now with Jimmy Butler questionable. This is pretty big. If Jimmy Butler is out, either way, with Dragic out, I think none becomes a pretty good play. If Jimmy's out too, we could have some value there with the Heat. But there's value with a lot of other teams too. Let's see. What else do we got? Again, Rozier in. Graham, Rozier, McDaniels, Bridges, and Biyombo. So again, Martin out of the starting lineup there. Miles Turner is questionable. Full disclosure, I do not expect him to play. He didn't practice Monday. He didn't play yesterday. I do not expect him to go. So I don't think he plays. If he does play, obviously, downgrades the bonus a bit. Maybe a slight downgrade to guys like Brogdon, LeVert. McDermott, that doesn't really matter to me. Lou Dort is out. I just don't like this Thunder team. They're so bad. The only reason they were in that game last game was because Lou Dort shot 31 times and hit 10 threes. I don't know what it was exactly, but he actually kept it close. The Utah guys crushed, which was a little bit tilting. I'm not gonna lie. But I just really dislike this OKC team. Love and Dellavedova still on minutes limit. That doesn't make any sense. Kem Birch will start. He is one value guy of a lot of centers that I think are in play. I think there's a lot of value centers. Does one really stand out? No. But there's literally 8 or so centers, I think, that are in play that are cheap that you can go to on the slate. So, it's going to be one of those days for sure. You got to be on your phones. You're going to have to bring your phone out there to the field, the softball field. I don't think Kyrie's going to be chalk. Do you? I don't think he is. All right, so I guess we can take a look at the Vegas odds really quick. Let's just talk about the games I think kind of stand out. Here, let me refresh this. So, games that have high totals. Again, this Pacers-Rockets game I think is sneaky. I don't think it's going to be super popular today, actually. I think everyone is focusing on this Wizards-Kings game, which I agree, I really like. But don't forget about this game, right? If there's no Turner, we got Sabonis, we got Brogdon, I think, look really good. On the opposite side, one play that I actually really like for tournaments that I think is going to be super low-owned, John Wall. No one talking about John Wall. He shot 5 of 20 last game. It was Kevin Porter Jr. that had the big game. But hey, that upside is there with Wall. We know he's a high usage guy. So those are 2 games I think, just looking at the totals, look pretty good. But let's go over this. So Cleveland, it's a little bit hard to say right now. Sexton, Garland, they're still questionable, right? We haven't got confirmation on if they're going to be in or not. If they're both out, I think we can look to Dellavedova for value, assuming he starts. Osman's probably not. I'm probably not going to get to him with Nance, Jared Allen there too. So it's probably just Dellavedova if he starts. But other than that, if both guards are in, I'm just completely staying away from Cleveland. So that's pretty simple. On the Charlotte side, Rozier, Graham, Bridges, all kind of secondary plays on this slate for me. I think this is setting up for that stars and scrubs build. So guys in the mid-range, I just don't know if to go there. Graham, even with all those guys out, he only played, 31 minutes. The minutes have just not been great for Graham. So I'm not going to go there. Bridges, priced about right. Rozier, priced about right. I think the guy that probably looks the best to me is McDaniels at 4.7. He should play, 35-ish minutes. He's been really solid since entering the starting lineup. So he's someone I think we could look to for value. And then Biyombo is one of literally like 10 value centers that are in play. He had a big game last game, went for a double-double. Just be careful here. Usually he's not that good of a point per minute guy. I talked about it a little bit in my video, but I've played him like 4 or 5 times this season where he's been somewhat low owned and he's busted for me every time when he started. So just be careful here, right? Yes, he went for 29 last game. That does not mean he's going for 29 again, right? And the recency bias might raise his ownership. If that's the case, I'm good just going to lower owned centers. So yeah, Bismack's in play though, but just be careful there. It was Caleb Martin that had the big game last game. Now he's coming off the bench. Previous games where he came off the bench was 14 and 19 minutes. So I'm probably not going to go there. Probably not. Sexton is out and Garland is in. Okay. I'm probably just going to stay away from Cleveland. I'm probably just staying away. Because their front court is healthy. It's just not a game I want a ton of exposure to. So basically just crossing this game off. A couple of guys that are interesting on the Charlotte side for value. Yeah, Bismack puke. All right, so Brooklyn, Kyrie is in. It's a tough matchup, but I think he's in play for tournaments. Right, he's going to be the clear number one on offense. So I think Kyrie's a good tournament play. You can honestly go there in cash too, just because he's going to be such a high usage guy. The value, I think, is really with the bigs. Like, yes, you can consider guys like Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, Joe Harris, but they're not super cheap. I don't know if they necessarily make sense for optimal build. The two guys I'm looking to, just because, again, they have like no other bigs, DeAndre Jordan and Nick Claxton. Now, I do prefer the price on Claxton. He's cheaper. He's at almost min price. He went for 23 fantasy points in 21 minutes against Minnesota. That was against Minnesota, though. This is against Joel Embiid and one of the worst possible matchups against Philadelphia. So, and you guys know my rule. I do not like targeting centers against Joel Embiid because foul risk plus Embiid is a good defender. But this is one where it's like, okay, he's 3.1K. He doesn't need a ton to pay off the salary. For like a random example, let's just say it was Jonas Valanciunas at 7.5. I would be completely avoiding him because I think any center that goes up against Embiid, there's a good chance he gets in foul trouble. And for a guy that's like pricey, like a Jonas Valanciunas, for example, I would just stay away. But here's a rare case where it's like, okay, I think you can still play Claxton because he's that cheap and he doesn't need a ton to pay off his salary. And if he does stay out of foul trouble, maybe we get 25 to 30 minutes out of him. So Claxton, I have some interest in for value. If you want to get different, you can take a dart on Dusty DeAndre Jordan. He's been, kind of out of its rotation, but last game he played 21 minutes. They just don't have any other bigs. And if Claxton gets in foul trouble, it's Jordan that's coming in. Now, again, I like the price better on Claxton than they do Jordan, but if you want to get different in tournaments, I could see going to DeAndre. All right, on the Philly side, I think, honestly, one of the best tournament plays on the slate is Joel Embiid. Love the matchup here. And the reason I think he's a really good tournament play is because of the box score watchers, right? People are going to see, 29 against New Orleans, 54 against OKC, only 50 against Dallas. Like, not great. Got to take in consideration what happened. Against OKC, blowout, didn't play the fourth. Against Dallas, blowout, didn't play the fourth. If this game stays competitive, I think we get about 35 minutes from Embiid. We know bigs crush against Brooklyn. I think box score watchers will avoid Embiid. I think that is a huge mistake. I really like him. Honestly, I think you could go there in cash games too, but for tournaments, love the upside if this game stays close with Joel Embiid. And the rest of the 76ers, no thank you on an 11-game slate. San Antonio and Toronto, this one will be pretty quick on the San Antonio side. I just don't think the price points make sense, right? We have so much value, a lot of good value on the slate, that it's like, why am I going to play a mid-range Spur when these guys are just so frustrating, a lot of them up and down? Like, yeah, like DeRozan, Murray have upside. I just don't think it's worth it to take a shot on this slate. So I'm just completely avoiding the Spurs. On the Raptors side, so we did just get the news that Khem Birch is starting. Khem Birch is, not a terrible point per minute guy. Like, he's all right. He played 25 minutes last game. He went for 27 fantasy points. If we get like 25 to 30 minutes out of Khem Birch, I think he's a good value. Now, the only tricky part is, will we get those minutes right? We've only seen a few games from him in this Toronto lineup, so there's no guarantee here. But I think Birch is one of many cheap centers that are in play. Now, do we have the rest of that Toronto starting lineup news? What else do we got? Yeah, so Garland and Okoro. Oh, way to the... Ooh. Whew. I am just staying away from that Cleveland team. But Toronto. So Van Fleet out, Lowry out, Gary Trent Jr. out. I think Siakam at the top is in play. He's a star you can consider. I mentioned it, though. He's been frustrating at times. He's busted with like everyone out in good spots. He's also had some upset games too. So I think Siakam is in play here for sure at the top. I'm not really looking to OG. If they don't start Boucher, I'm not going to him at 7-1. If they start, I don't think they will, but I guess they could start Boucher, Birch, Siakam. That would be kind of a pretty big starting lineup, but maybe it's possible. Boucher doesn't start. I'm not touching him at that price. Malachi Flynn intrigues me at 5-5 just because they have no guards. He played 35 minutes the last game. I think he had like 20 fancy points in the last 2 minutes, though, so he was busting up until like the last little bit. But I think he's someone that is in play in the mid-range. I want to see what else to do with the starting lineup. Like, does Rodney Hood maybe... Like, I don't know who else they're going to start, right? I think it's going to be... Siakam's going to start. OG's going to start. Birch is obviously starting. We know that. And Flynn's going to start. Like, do they start a big front court through Boucher in there? Or do they throw, like a Rodney Hood in there? If Rodney Hood starts... I'm okay taking a shot at him. He's not great with the peripherals, a little bit reliant on the scoring, but we probably get like mid-20s minutes from him. So, I think Hood, if he starts, would be someone you could at least give a look to. All right, Clippers and Pistons. So, Clippers, this is interesting, right? It's a good matchup against Detroit. No Pat Beverly, no Ibaka, and most importantly, no Kawhi and no Paul George. So, this is a team that, like, they look good. Let's start with the guards here. That being Reggie, Mann, and Rondo. I really wish Rondo was not on this team because if Rondo wasn't there, I think I would probably play both Reggie and Mann in this spot. So we'll start with Reggie at the top. Revenge game narrative. He's a guy that when the Clippers have been a little bit banged up, when one or both stars have been injured, he's kind of been the go-to guy. Now, has he been really consistent? No, he's also had some floor games. But we've also seen some 40, 50 fancy floor games from Reggie Jackson. Does he play a little bit more? He might have to. If we get like 35 minutes out of Reggie Jackson, he's a guy I think has a lot of upside. I also have interest in Marcus Morris too. He's been shooting the ball a ton. He's been shooting really well. Like, is he going to shoot 13 of 18 and 9 of 12 every game? No. But like, someone's got to shoot the ball for this team. So Morris, I think, is intriguing in the mid-range. Zubac is one of those guys where I thought he would play more against the Pacers. He did not. That was super frustrating for me because if he played 35 minutes, he crushes. But he only played 26. Will we get 35 again? Possibly. He did play 35 last game against Detroit. So it's at least, in consideration. If he does play 35 minutes, I think Zubac could have a really good game. The issue is he's center eligible, only center eligible, and there are a ton of viable guys for cheap at the center spot. Now, Mann is intriguing off the bench. I think he pushes for 30 minutes. Definitely in play. Rondo, I think, gets about 20 minutes or so. He's really cheap. I think you can give a look to him. Kennard probably plays a little bit more, reliant on the scoring, but definitely viable. And then Batum off the bench, I think, gets around 30. So, really, I have interest in, all the main guys for the Clippers. Reggie Morris, Zubac, Mann, Batum, Kennard, even Rondo. Does one really stand out? I don't think one player really stands out was the issue. But I will say, upside-wise, Reggie probably has the most upside when he's really getting it going. Point per dollar-wise, if Rondo gets 25 minutes, I think I like him the best point per dollar. But then, again, Morris, I think, is a pretty solid play. Like Batum, Mann. There's a lot of solid plays here for the Clippers in a shorthanded, good spot against Detroit. All right, I got to move a little bit faster because we're running short on time. Pistons, it's basically Corey Joseph for me, and that's it. Joseph, last 3 games, 32, 30, and 32 minutes. Yes, Jeremy Grant is back, so maybe a slight downgrade to him, but he's been phenomenal. So Kojo's the one guy I look to. I'm not touching anyone else in this Pistons team. New York and New Orleans, I'll make this really, really simple. Randall's contrarian spend up is in play. That's it. On the Pelicans side, I basically have no interest here. I'm not going to Zion with other stars and much better matchups here, so I'm staying away from the Pelicans. Orlando and Chicago, I'll also make this pretty simple. Basically no interest in the Magic. The one guy I think maybe you could take a shot on is Wendell Carter Jr., but I think you're sacrificing too much going there because there's so much value at center. On the Chicago side, it's Levine and Vooch's contrarian spend-ups. The Magic are not good, but they're playing at a little bit of a slower pace. Those two as constrained spin ups are in play. The guy that I actually think does look intriguing is Daniel Tice. I've talked him up a lot last couple slates. 32 and 25 fantasy points. In both games, both times he's low owned. Now, are we going to get close to 30 minutes again from him every single game? I'm not sure. But if I knew Tice is going to play 28 minutes tonight, I think I would say he's one of the best values of the slate. It's just, are we going to get like 25 plus consistently from him? I'm not convinced about it. So there's a little bit of risk, but Tice I think is another value center that I think is in play. All right, Pacers and Rockets. So on the Pacers side, I don't expect Turner to play. I don't expect him to play. If he's out, I really like Sabonis at the top. If you played him like myself last slate, you had a little bit of tilting to do. He had like 40 fantasy points going into the fourth quarter, and then just did nothing in the fourth. A little bit tilted about that for sure, but this is a phenomenal matchup. And if there's no Turner, I really like him. LeVert, Brogdon, both in play too. I think I give the edge to Brogdon over LeVert, but this is a game that I think is really sneaky. That I don't know if it's gonna be super popular, but I really like this game to stack for tournaments. I think it just flies under the radar. So Sabonis, LeVert, Brogdon. I have interest in all three. Sabonis, I would rank him Sabonis, then Brogdon, then LeVert on the Houston side. So mentioned one of my favorite tournament plays of the slate, that being John Wall. And the reason I like him so much is recency bias, right? Look what happened last game. He shot 5 of 20. He busted. People are going to look at that, and they're going to avoid him. It happens every time, right? Anytime you see a big game from someone, the next time they are way more popular, right? You remember the Boucher game where we went for 70? The next slate, he was like 50% owned, and he busted. So usually my approach is if it's like a player that is a little bit more up and down, I don't like going to them after a big game. I do like going to players after bad games because that's going to lower the ownership. So John Wall is someone that I do kind of like for tournaments. I think he goes basically unowned on this slate. I agree. Kevin Porter Jr. had a big game last game. For me, though, I prefer Wall, even though he's more expensive, because I think he comes in way lower owned. And, when Wall's been healthy, Porter Jr., besides that last game, has kind of taken a back seat. So give me Wall over Porter Jr. for the ownership. And then Wood and Olynyk are fine for tournament plays here, too, if you want to stack this game up. But I would, if a big in this game, I would rather just spend up for Sabonis. Okay, so we got 4 games left. Let me refresh Fantasy Labs one more time, make sure we're up to date and everything, guys. Okay, no more news. Where are we at likes-wise? 341 viewers. Wow, thank you, guys. 70 likes. Can we reach 100 before the end of the show? If you guys do enjoy this content, it really does help me out a ton. All right, so let's go back to Golden State and OKC. So my worry with this game is blowout. What's the spread here? 12-point spread. Right, so Steph Curry is definitely in play for tournaments. He had the big game last game, but do I trust his Thunder team to keep it close? Not really, so a little bit worried about Steph for that reason. Draymond, I like if I knew this game was going to stay close. Again, though, a little bit of blowout risk here, so tough one. Tough one with the main stars for Golden State because I do like the matchup a lot, but just like Utah, what I said last night, I was like, hey, I'm worried about it, but sure enough, if you went to the Jazz, the Thunder did keep it close, so you got rewarded if you went to anyone besides Mitchell, right? Niang smashed, Bojan big game, Conley smashed, Gobert like 10 blocks. So if the Thunder can keep it close, I think probably my favorite play would be Draymond Green. And then value-wise, no Oubre. I think Bazemore is still in play. We're not getting him at as good of a value as he's been last previous slates, but he's played 32 and 35 minutes. I think Bazemore is still viable at his price. And then Kevon Looney. So he played 31 minutes the last game. I'm not sure if we get 31 again, though. The reason, that was against a big Denver front court with Jokic. Will they need him against, like, Moses Brown, Isaiah Roby? I don't know if they're necessarily going to need Looney. So, but if he does play 30 minutes again, I think he's an okay value and one of, again, like 10 value centers that are in play. All right, moving on to OKC. So, yes, they're shorthanded. Does one player really stand out? Not really. Moses Brown's at 6'3". Again, just like, you can go there for tournaments. Baisley at 5'8". If they're going to keep this game close, we might see a big game from Baisley or even Maladon, right? Maladon's probably going to get a good amount of shots up. I don't know if I can stomach playing OKC play. Like, Roby will get some minutes too. I don't know if I can do it. I'm probably not going to get anyone in the Thunder. I don't trust this team right now. All right, Dallas and Memphis. So, Luka Doncic, I like his contrarian setup. He is going to go very overlooked. Yes, he's not been great recently. Yes, we have not seen the big upside game. It's still there. It is still there. This is a good matchup. We're going to see a big game from Luka somewhat soon, and he's going to crush for people at low ownership. Is it tonight? Maybe. I've also said that the last few weeks, and we haven't got it. So Luka, I kind of like his contrarian spend up. I don't know if I get to Porzingis at 9K. I know he's been playing well. I would say he's more of a GPP play, but yeah, the top two guys for Dallas are in play. Maybe more both. I would say both more tournament plays for me. On the Memphis side, Jonas Valanciunas, recent games, 36, 32, 34. Yes, this game 36 was in overtime, but so 31, 32, and 34 minutes in regulation the last 3 games. We know JV is a phenomenal point per minute guy. It's just a matter of, will the minutes be there? That's been the whole issue with him all year, is like he's been hovering in like the 25 to 28 minute range. But the last 3 games has been really good to see. Now, are we for sure going to get over 30 minutes from JV? No. So there is a little bit of risk. Let's just say this. If I knew Jonas Valanciunas was going to play 35 minutes tonight, I would lock him into my lineup. Lock him in. I'm not convinced we get 35. So that's a risk with JV. It's just the minutes still, but they are trending up, which is good. Definitely a guy that kind of in the mid-range I think has a ton of upside. Have a little bit of interest in John Morant's contrarian play. The minutes are there. Production, not. It's been a little bit inconsistent for sure this year. I'm a huge John Morant fan, so I'm hoping he picks it up. Value-wise, nah. It's just, I'm not going to anyone. All right. 2 games left. This one's going to be popular. It's going to be popular. It's for good reason. 2 teams play fast. 2 teams that play no defense. Definitely game stackable too. Let's start off with Westbrook at the top at 11K. I think probably an optimal spend up. Right, a guy you can feel safe about. With Beal in the lineup, he's been great. With Beal out of the lineup, he's been great. Beal's going to play, so it doesn't really affect me too much with Westbrook. Again, Kings play literally 0 defense. He's going to play close to 40 minutes in a close game. I think Westbrook is probably the safest spend up this slate. Really like him. Do you have to play him in tournaments? No. It's 11 games. You can go elsewhere. But I think Westbrook is probably the safest spend up this slate. I also like Brad Beal. He was on a minutes limit, the John Wall minutes limit, and played 37 minutes. So, I expect similar minutes. I expect 35 plus from him. It's a great matchup, and he's below 9K. So, yes, he's a little bit more reliant on the scoring, but I am really high on both Wizards guards. Do prefer Westbrook to Beal if you made me pick. And then one other guy I want to mention here of, again, about 10 value centers are in play, but he's going to be very, very low owned. Daniel Gafford quietly has been really playing well off the bench. 14, 15, first couple games, 17, 18 minutes. Last 4 games he's played 26, 22, 22, 21 fancy points. Again, fantastic matchup. They've been kind of taking it easy in his minutes. Let's just say this. Another situation where it's like, hey, if I knew Daniel Gafford was going to play 25 minutes tonight, I would lock him into my lineup because he is that good of a point per minute guy. He is. And this is an up-tempo game. So Gafford's one that I like as a sneaky value play that I think goes overlooked in the slate, but does have upside, especially if the minutes get extended. Moving on to Sacramento. Fox, I do like at the top. I don't know if he's going to be as popular as like Westbrook and Beal, but he is a clear bringback if you want to stack this game up. Again, I really like that. It's going to be popular. Fox is going to play close to 40 minutes. Stuff the stat sheet. I really like Fox at the top, even at that price. Let's talk about the other guys, then we can get to the center position. So Harrison Barnes, keep an eye on Buddy Hield. If Buddy Hield's out, I think we get 40 plus minutes from Barnes. Now, Barnes is a guy I don't love playing, but if we're going to get like 45 minutes out of Harrison Barnes in this matchup, I'm fine going there. Halliburton has just been a little bit inconsistent. He really hasn't flashed the big upside. He's not completely out of play. I'm probably not going to go there, though. Not really looking to DeLon Wright. Value-wise, I think Harkless, especially if there's no Buddy Hield, is actually a pretty decent value. He started last couple games, 31, 34 minutes. If he continues to start, yeah, I like him because of the matchup, firmly in play. And then the center position. So this one's a little bit tricky, and it's a little bit confusing because I thought Whiteside would be the guy that would come in when Holmes went down. Well, Whiteside, he barely played. It was Damian Jones, who's been on like 20 different teams this year, that played a lot in the second half. He started the second half. So keep an eye on this one. I will just say this. If Whiteside starts, I'm not fading Hassan Whiteside. He is a phenomenal point per minute guy, but not a good sign that he didn't really play that last game. So just keep an eye on the starting lineup. If Whiteside starts, again, I am not fading Whiteside. He would be my favorite value center just because I think if he starts, he probably plays at least 20 minutes. If he plays at least 20 minutes, he's going to absolutely crush that salary. If they start a guy like Damian Jones, I'm okay getting to him. He's not as good of a point per minute guy, but if he starts, maybe we get 20, 25 minutes from him, you can give a look to him. They also have Metu that might get dusted off for a few minutes. So, like, just keep an eye on the starting lineup. If it's Whiteside, he's my favorite play for value. If it's not Whiteside, then if it's Jones or it's Metu, I'm okay with them, but they're not like smash plays like they would be if Whiteside starts. All right, final game, Miami and Denver. So we have Oladipo out, we have Dragic out, and we have Jimmy Butler questionable. If Jimmy Butler is out too, let's look at Kendrick Nunn at 4-6. I think that catapults him to become one of the best values of the slate. Played 32 minutes 2 games ago, only 21 last game in a blowout, plus foul trouble. So Nunn's a guy that when they've been shorthanded, he is the guy that usually is like the number one on offense when they're missing a lot of guys. So if there's no Jimmy Butler, I actually do like Kendrick Nunn quite a bit. And then I think you can make the argument for Tyler Hero, who would have to play probably more and be a lot higher usage guy. So Nunn, Hero, if there's no Jimmy Butler, I think both look pretty good. Nunn would probably be the priority, though, play for me. And then Bam Adebayo, I don't love the spot here against Jokic, but obviously gets a usage bump, so you could even give a look to Bam. The issue is he's center eligible, and again, there's a lot of center value on the slate. If there's no Jimmy, I'm curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. I would guess Ariza probably plays a little bit more. He would become a little bit more in play at 3-8. Like Iguodala, Bielitsa probably get some run too. I don't know if we have to go there. But yeah, Miami could be intriguing if Jimmy Butler is out. Now, if Jimmy Butler's in, I don't know if I can get to anyone. I think either way, Nunn is my favorite play. But if there's no Butler, I think Nunn becomes a really good value that might be pretty low owned if we get news that Butler's out way after lock. Finally, Denver. So obviously, we know no Jamal Murray. Again, unfortunate about that injury. Jokic, the top, I think is a fine spend up. Is he a priority play for me? No. But I think he's definitely viable. Secondary plays like MPJ, Gordon, Barton are all in play. On this slate, though, I don't know if it makes sense optimal build-wise to get to any of those guys. Value-wise, it's probably going to be a three-headed monster of Campozo, Dozier, Monte Morris to split the point guard minutes. I'm guessing it's Campozo that starts. That's what we've seen recently. If he does start, yes, he's in play for value. Is he a must-play? No. But somebody you could at least give a look to. Also, Monte Morris, again, I think probably plays 20, 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more. So those two are at least in play for value. And that's all I got. So, all right, we have about 5 minutes for questions. Let's see, do we have any more news here? Mo Bamba out, Dwight Howard out, Lonzo out. Okay, nothing big. Nothing big. All right, so throw those questions in there, guys. 120 likes. Thank you guys very much. Kyrie easy fade, Ben Simmons. Yeah, Kyrie's not a good matchup, obviously, but he's for sure in play. MPJ grab him before the price. MPJ has been, I will say, he's been the most consistent secondary option behind Jokic. When Jamal Murray's been out, it's been MPJ. Claxton, Tice, or Jones, assuming he starts. I don't really have a super strong take. I don't. I think what you want to do is consider those value centers for sure. I mentioned about like 7 or 8. I don't know if one really stands out more than the other. There's risk with everyone. So my advice to you is, I think play one or two of the value centers. I think that will open up a lot to get that stars and scrubs built in there. I don't really have a super strong take in which ones I prefer, though. I don't. Green, Barnes, or Marcus Morris. Ooh. I mean, I'll take the discount of Morris, I guess. A little bit worried about the blowout for Green. Barnes, got to keep an eye on Hield status. I think I only play Barnes if Hield's out. Flynn or Reggie. Minutes probably a little bit safer on Flynn, but I think the upside might be a little bit higher on Reggie's. That's also a tough one. I want to play Embiid, but there's so many 3K centers. Yeah, there's again like 7 or 8 guys I think are in play. Are you rolling the dice with Wall and Nunn? Honestly, haven't really finalized my build. I usually wait because I just need to wait for more news. But I'm leaning towards probably taking a shot on Wall because I think he's going to be super, super low owned. Yeah, Gafford or Tice. I think the safer option is Tice, actually, just because of the minutes. Do you expect Claxton to start? Yes, I expect Claxton to start. If he does start, for sure in play for value. Again, though, a little bit worried about foul trouble against Embiid. Kojo or Mann, oof. That's so tough. If Rondo was not there, if there's no Rondo, I would say Mann for sure. But Rondo's there, which does affect Mann a bit. It's basically a toss-up. I'll go Kojo because, I don't know. I guess I'll just go Kojo. That's not a strong take. Yeah, Austin Rivers and Nuggets. Yeah, what? Russ, Mann, Harkless, McDaniels, Birch, Fox, Sabonis, and Tice. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the build I'm leaning towards, right? Get some value in there, get those stars. You got Russ, you got Fox, you got Sabonis, you got some value centers. Like that's the build I'm leaning to for sure. You know, brick. If anyone gonna brick to anyone, it should be Morris, Marcus Morris for me. Would you say it's stars and scrubs? Yeah, stars and scrubs. It's just Wendell Carter Jr. Yes, he does get a boost no Bamba, but I think it's suboptimal to play him on this slate when there's so much value at center. That's what I'll say. Be humble, 129 off 200. If we get 200, that would be insane, but I don't think we'll get that. 126. I appreciate everyone who's like the stream, guys. Fox or Beal? Ooh. Do you have Westbrook in? If the answer is yes, I go Fox. If you don't have Westbrook, then I play Beal. I don't know if I play Fox, or I don't know if I play Beal and Westbrook together, unless I'm just full stacking. Then if I do that, I'm just playing Westbrook, Beal, and Fox, and then just all value. Moses, again, I just don't know if it makes sense. I think the upside's there, but Fox or Wall, Fox is a lot safer. Fox is a lot safer, been more consistent, better matchup. I like Wall as a contrarian cheap BP play. Yeah, I think Westbrook is an optimal spend up. So right now leaning towards yes, but not for sure. Thoughts on Flynn, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Siakam, Claxton, Westbrook, Porter Jr., and Whiteside. Do I play Flynn and Siakam together? I don't know if I play both those Raptors guys together. And then Porter Jr., I'm not super high on for this slate. Levine or Kyrie. If price doesn't matter, Kyrie. I think both are secondary plays, though, for me. Small forward value, Harkless. I think Harkless is like the clear one that stands out. Assuming he starts again, which I fully expect him to. I don't know if there's much else. Ariza, if there's no Jimmy Butler, but he might only be power forward eligible. Is there anything else, really? Yeah, I think Harkless is the standout there. I think you can go to Kennard, too, at 4-3. Like, Kennard, he's played about mid-20s minutes. He might play a little bit more now. And then you consider, like, Batum and Bazemore value. If you do, then, yeah, you consider those guys. Not 100% sure, Caleb. So, we'll see. It's still waiting on a couple pieces of news, honestly. Yeah, I don't think you have to play Flynn. I do think Flynn's a solid play in the mid-range. One of the few guys I'm looking to in the mid-range. You got, like, Flynn. You got those Clippers guys. That's really where I'm looking to mid-range. Other than that, and again, it's more that stars and scrubs build. Wall, Jackson, Harkless, Sabonis, and Embiid, Flynn. Yeah, I think that's good. Wendell Carter Jr. already made it clear he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder tonight. Yeah, so again, he's a fine contrarian play. I don't want to talk to you guys. If you're really high in Wendell Carter Jr., if you're really high in Moses Brown, play him, right? Because nothing is worse than being high in a guy and then like fading him because like I said, I don't love him. Go with your gut, right? I'm gonna be wrong a lot, so go with your gut for sure. Tyson Whiteside, I'm good with it. Right? If Whiteside starts, I'm totally guys. I'm playing Whiteside if he starts. If he doesn't start, I'm probably not going to play him just because of what we saw last game. He like didn't play. Yeah, I think Harkless can play for value. Tice, Claxton, or Birch. I honestly don't really have a super strong take. I think Birch right now is the safest. We know he's starting. I assume Claxton starts. There's risk reward with both. There's risk with all three. Tice, not convinced he's going to play 25 plus minutes every single game. Claxton is going up against Embiid, and Birch is on a new team, not convinced about his minutes. So there's risk with all three. Again, I don't really have a take. My take is I think you play one or even two value centers in your lineup. Yeah, I think Embiid. If I'm spending up at center, it's Embiid. Harkless in play, yes. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it. Yeah, McDaniels or Kennard. I don't really have a super strong take in that one. Maybe McDaniels, but that's close. That's close for sure. That's going to do it for me, though. Keep an eye on the news. Again, going to be a crazy one. Got to be on your phone basically all day, all night, 11 games. So good luck to everyone, and thank you, everyone, for checking out the video, checking out the live stream. We hit almost 140 likes, which is, I think, close to the record. I don't know. I guess I don't really know what the record is for likes, but appreciate all you guys coming in. Good luck, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for another stream.